Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I am your host, Scott Ramp, and I'm here to usher you into the weekend. It is the first weekend, the first Friday of December. I have your first Friday art guide for you if you're interested in going out and about tonight in the downtown Missoula area, enjoying some of the art, and I have that art guide for you later. I got City Council. It was a short week as well because they're just coming off the holiday weekend. There's just definitely a lot going on, and we're kicking things off with some news as well. Of course, you might have heard the Omicron is kind of all in the news and everything like that. It's a new COVID variant being confirmed in New York, Minnesota, and California this week. I didn't check it on it just recently, just double checking to make sure a couple things here and there, but there have been a couple travel bans in some of the high risk areas, but the U.S. government kind of did what was uncharacteristic and didn't kind of blow this out of proportion, and now they're taking it day by day and seeing how this reacts. So the South African variant has been confirmed in other countries as well, and hopefully this new variant passes smoothly, but we never know the whole impact until it's over. I also got some MCAT news as well. If you are a organization or an individual here in the city of Missoula and wish to do a video holiday greeting card, MCAT has a new couple banners up here, and we have cameras here, so if you're interested in making a short video, by all means, join us any days during the open public hours of the library from 9 to about 6 p.m. It is a good opportunity to make a video calling card. I've been getting in contact with a couple nonprofits in town, but you can get in contact with us at 542-6228, otherwise known as 542-MCAT. We'll be advertising online with a link for sign up on our Facebook page, but you can give us a call and set up an appointment, or you can just drop in depending. And also, here's some news about in terms of the infrastructure money that's going to the state of Montana. $144 million at community airports, including $19 million at Billings and $7 million in Helena. Spending on Montana roads and bridges are expected to reach $2.8 billion, with about $225 million additional for new bridges, approximately $164 million for Montana's over 5 years to bolster public transit infrastructure, a roughly 30% increase. And just so you guys know, we did a story on this a couple weeks ago, is that the Missoula has the best transit system, and a lot of other communities are looking for how our public transit is able to be sustainable and expandable. And like Missoula's transit system, if you don't already know, is a free fare service, and it's been going fare free since I believe it was 2015, 2016. The city of Missoula voted on it to give it a little extra bump and have figured out ways to expand it and keep it fairly affordable in an ever-growing city of Missoula. Water is getting $1 billion for this bill to help, water infrastructure, as well as $2.5 billion to complete all authorized Indian water rights settlements, including settlements for Montana tribes, and $3.5 billion for the Indian Health Service Sanitation Construction Program. The Fort Peck Dry Prairie Rural Water System is one of 3 in Montana that should receive enough money to be completed after a 21-year slog. And just so you guys know, the Fort Peck Dry Prairie Rural Water System, a lot of it had to do with the I believe it was Pegasus, the gold mining company, that kind of left a lot of these communities in disarray as a result of, basic mining and them becoming Superfund sites, and then the company going bankrupt and then just straight up disappearing. And then Helka is another company in which the president of the Pegasus company. So there's just a lot of connections here and there, but that's the whole point of why a lot of environmental groups are suing the Montana Department of Environmental Quality to basically say, is like, hey, we want to prevent any kind of these bad faith mining operations from coming back to coming back to Montana in general. So, and another big thing in the United States as well is the $42 billion going throughout the so a lot of times this is about $100 million per state, depending upon the need for the broadband, and this is for internet, rural areas, and putting us into the 21st century in terms of internet connectivity and connecting us to the future. Many provisions include First Nation tribes across the U.S. to improve many of their infrastructure, improve their way of life on reservations. And that's kind of what's going on with the Build Back Better. There's a lot of money going to many different states, and I just wanted to kind of highlight a little bit more about a lot of stuff in Montana. Priority, highways, water, infrastructure, bridges. Those are one of the major things that are going in the state of Montana. And also a big key feature as well is fires. And so one of the things is that there's going to be a big budget. A couple $100 million are going to the fire and fire prevention in the state of Montana. This last summer we had a record drought. It broke all the records. And the one that broke it previously was the year before, so the droughts are getting worse and worse every year, and we're just trying to figure out ways to mitigate a lot of those fires and also improve our our generic infrastructure. And hopefully, with this drought, the water infrastructure plan will help us irrigate and be able to improve these farmlands that have declared a state of emergency as a result. All right. Amazon workers get a second chance at unionizing as the National Labor Board in the local area in Alabama has decided that Amazon practiced in bad faith in union busting and rigged elections. So basically what Amazon did was those who didn't care to unionize were coerced into anti-union. So, there's people who are just like, hey, I want to unionize. It's like, okay, good for you, whatever. And then the people's like, hey, do you care about being in the union? It's not really. It's like, well, you should care about not being in union then. And so that's kind of like what they did. And LRB said that the second largest private employer will have to hold another vote. This is also on the heels of 3 new warehouses expansion in the state, which included a fulfillment center. What potentially saw workers' rights being snubbed out of a union will now open the door once again. Lots of labor news, and the Rolling Stones actually reported on the Kellogg strike, the big strike, which basically propelled the John Deere strike, and now I believe the only strike I mean, there's a lot of strikes, definitely, but there was a big walkout at McDonald's and employees, but we're going to talk a little bit about Kellogg, and they just ended their strike recently with a deal and more small victories of about a 3% bump in their wages for people who work there and future employees that work there as well. It's not a big win, but it is a sizable win for a lot of them. A lot of them will be able to keep their health care, and a lot of them will be able to have clear paths to larger wages and better improvement in transitional workers and stuff like that. But in the article, they also mentioned that higher legacy workers, the ones that have basically been, the phrase is grandfathered in, and so basically they would be getting $30 an hour while their counterparts would roughly be making $19 an hour. The Rolling Stones article kind of went into detail into some of the lives of these people who were picketing and protesting outside the Kellogg company in the cold. It is pretty sneaky for a company to do the 2-tier system, which basically kind of divides up the workers. You have people who are specialized, managerial staff, and then you have people who are kind of new, but also doing a lot of the same jobs. And so as a result, there's some. It's kind of like a divide and conquer kind of tactics, and being like, maybe it's the company's fault and it's not the people's fault for getting paid more. So, anyways, let's see. Yep. So far the Kellogg 2-month strike is over, and it will. And it was basically one of the lightning rods to many other strikes with John Deere and the McDonald's walkout as well. And that's kind of what I want. That's all I had to say about that. And we're going to move on right over to some nanotechnology. So apparently, some nanotechnology has been able to self-replicate. And as a result, with a little help from frog cells and a lot of direction from scientists, nanomachines were able to get cells to self-replicate, publish proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. This week, the xenobots are made of cells taken from the African clawed frog, or Xenoplus livis. The cells aren't genetically modified at all, but simply combined in different arrangements to produce xenobots. The xenobots have hairs. They kind of do like corkscrews movements, which help them collect things like other cells. The human body has a series of cells at work, and with this adds another potential for cellular growth and recovery. The xenobots are shaped like a C, or Pac-Man, as they try to avoid, which seems a little more relatable. But when the xenobots sweep up the loose of the stem cell dish, the researchers observed something remarkable. Piles of cells form copies of the original xenobots. So kinetic self-replication is kind of what they're doing, and I have a video of this as well. Let me see if I can bring that up for you. All right, so we'll take a quick look at this. And so as you can see, you got some basic collection of the cells up here. These are kind of like the movements and everything like that. Swarm of frog cells, parents, all that stuff. And then you start adding the mature cells into self-moving their children. And then you kind of have more of like the technical scope of things, just kind of see how it works, programming, doing all that stuff. And then, a lot of their cells that they have been replicating have been able to copy a lot of their old movements as well. So there's definitely a lot of this, and this is kind of a big deal because a lot of times they haven't actually, it's to kind of see how this can of worms science has opened just kind of turns out. And so that kind of concludes everything that's happening in terms of uh, let's see, of the news and just kind of new things happening on there. And NPR did a great article on those xenobots as well, and you guys can check that out. Up next, we have an interview from Missoula Aging Services, and they're talking about giving trees. So we brought on Allison and Rob to talk a little bit more about a lot of the big giving event that helps promote Meals on Wheels. And hey, let them say it for themselves in this interview. We're here with Rob and Allison. They're from the Missoula Aging Services. They promote the dignity, independence, and health of aging adults and those who care for them. I say it so you guys don't have to. So you guys are talking about Giving Trees, and the Giving Trees is a great program that helps utilize many different organizations across town for people to donate money to many of your organizations that helps various forms of Missoula Aging Services, like Meals on Wheels program is a great program. Could you guys talk a little bit more about the need for Giving Trees?
Sure. So Giving Trees is our kind of annual holiday this year, and it's virtual again this year due to COVID. But basically, we're asking for donations from the public to help with, like you said, our many services. No amounts too small. So it could be $8 to provide, a hot nutritious meal for our Meals on Wheels program, to $20 for a gas gift card or a grocery gift card. So it's just that giving time of year, and it's important, to help support our aging mission.
So could you tell us a little bit more about, community and the services needed?
Sure. So the obvious one that everybody knows about is our meals program. It's our flagship, and not only is it an important piece for getting people some warm and nutritious meals, it also gives people a check-in 4 times a week basis, somebody that they can smiling face, that connection. And also, really is an intake to our agency. Every time somebody comes into Meals on Wheels, we do a home assessment with them. We often find out there's other ways that we can be supporting them, whether it's respite or homemaking, or even just a look at what they're spending their money on and how we might be able to save them.
Yeah, because one of the major things is that Missoula Aging Services is great for a lot of seniors or people who are just in post-retirement, looking for something to do. I always see there's a lot of tight-knit volunteer staff working for the Meals on Wheels programs. You also have a great kind of tutoring program with the seniors as well.
Yeah, we actually are the largest volunteer program in Western.
Wow.
Most time pre-COVID, anyway, I can say this, we would run between 400 and 500 volunteers. Meals on Wheels, of course, 110 volunteers right now, delivering meals 4 days a week, 19 routes. So each one of those routes takes a volunteer to drive them, and that. We also have the RSVP tutor program, foster grandparent programs that work in the schools that take care of helping people, mostly with math, reading, science, what their focus is supposed to be. But a lot of times it's just somebody to be that person, older adult, for them to know and to connect. So, real important program. And many of those programs are online as well. So like you said, that there's a virtual COVID. Virtual because of COVID. Correct. We don't want virtual COVID.
We don't want virtual COVID now. No. But go to the MissoulaAgingServices.org. You can look at all Giving Trees and look at all the volunteer opportunities that they have at Missoula Aging Services. So tell us a little bit more about, let's talk a little bit more about the holiday season, because the holiday season, in terms of people who are especially homebound and living alone, and even COVID times, it can be very difficult to really have that kind of human connection. So we talk a little bit more about how important a lot of these programs are.
Sure. So I can take this one. So one of the great new programs that we started called Life, and this is a program where we give tablets to older adults and provide them with training too. So then they can connect with family, friends, and especially telehealth. With COVID, you might not be able to go to the doctor, or you don't want to go. The telehealth is a huge piece of that to help them stay healthy in their homes. And we've had over 55 people complete training or get their tablets, which is great so far. And we've had even a few people return their original tablets because either they wanted to upgrade or their family wanted to upgrade them because they got so good at using the technology. So that's something that's been a great new program that we implemented because a lot of great thanks to donors and support.
Yeah, my 93-year-old grandma figured out how to use an iPad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a
very
great thing.
it's the idea of like using a mouse, because using a mouse, like, oh, put the cursor on the screen. People put their mouse on the screen, and then with the iPads, like you touch something on the screen, something happens. It's like, oh, that makes sense. So a lot of people were able to get into that, and I think that's a great service that you guys
Yeah.
are offering.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
they just, it's not that they couldn't use the technology, they just need a little help, to navigate it. So we're happy to provide.
So last thing, tell folks about where and how they can get in contact.
Sure. So you can either call us. We're a one-number agency, so 728-7682. You'll get our live call center 5 days a week from 8 to 5. Also, MissoulaAgingServices.org. You can find us there. And on the website, if you can find one of us you want to talk to, feel free to shoot us an email or give us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, well, welcome back. Sorry about that. For some reason, the audio just kept cutting out in the middle of the interview, and I just didn't want to stop it in the middle of it. But like you saw a little bit of that, it's very important to be a part of the holiday giving trees. MissoulaAgingServices.org for more information as well. Let's talk about some movies that are coming out this weekend. It's time for Pre-Critic, where I prejudge a movie based on absolutely nothing but a little bit of context, a little bit of a title, and a whole lot of this stuff. Kicking things off is Silent Night. Well, those of you who have to deal with an 8-bit Christmas this year on HBO Max, it's kind of charming. But watch yet another movie that will make you go, isn't that the kid from that Nazi youth film, Jojo Rabbit? Okay, this movie is basically the vein of, it's supposed to be a normal Christmas dinner until insert shared trauma to get the point across. The point is, I'd rather die than sit through another family gathering. I might actually watch this film rather than spend time with my family. Maybe that's why people go to the movies. Up next, we have a movie about a indie darling about how relationships can turn toxic, I'm assuming. But the synopsis basically is very indie. A boy thinks he's an actual wolf, and a girl falls in love thinking she can fix him. He does the unimaginable, only to have a glimpse of remorse for the rest of us, but still dies tragically because the plot demands it. They need blood. It literally says a high concept art house drama, which basically means you're not allowed to get it. Up next, we have another kind of indie film in the vein of a single title movie comes Flea, possibly about a lifestyle of folks forced to live in the backs of giants of industry, or just a ripoff of Bong Joon-ho's Parasite film. Basically, this film is all about the sweet, sweet past, diving into the past to confront the part of herself before marriage. Probably should have dealt with that stuff before putting, actually the wedding happening and putting that luggage on your significant other kind of like at the last minute. All right, so that's kind of that, and let's talk about some, let's see, gotta find that next one. This one, that's time for a speed round. Like most D-list action movies, you'll have to have a former star. One seems like it has to be Bruce Willis, but that's the next one. This one, however, is a heist film mixed with a John Normal white guy finding illegal money at the point of desperation. This one has Bruce Willis in it, actually, and this time they got a nuclear power plant as hostage. So it's basically kind of like a hostage film. They probably filmed this in a California wastewater treatment facility. Only Bruce Willis can fight nuclear power through good old coal power. Black lung ain't so bad as long as it's not irradiated. If this was the only renewable resource we could use, can't think of anything. The pressure gets to me. All right. This next one is something a magician may say. Comes a Bollywood film called Tadab. It's a remake of a 2018 film, so yeah, whatever. I guess, remakes doesn't matter if it's only a couple of years, but a remake of a movie called RX 100. Bollywood has been going through a kung fu renaissance. I'm sorry if I misspelled that. I just realized I misspelled it. But anyways, I suggest you watch this film that is 90% Hindi with a 10% English thrown into to throw me off while watching the trailer. All right, so that's about that. So a bunch of movies are coming out this weekend, and I have a movie for you guys as well from the 1977 movie, A Cosmic Christmas. And without further ado, here's this.
It was the best of times. It was the Worcester of times.
How could you say that? That is not how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you think it goes then? I'm trying to talk to my publisher here. Do you mind?
Worcester.
Here in America, we pronounce our W's with a W.
Well, you shouldn't pronounce fajita like Vegeta or quesadilla, not like quesadilla.
I guess I see where you're coming from, but
So you're gonna pronounce the Worcester?
I'm too pretty to think about this. I just gotta put butter on my hair, or brute.
That's not gonna
Well, this
prevent
cookbook's
balding.
gonna be really great.
Are
I
you
just hope
even
that
listening
this
to me?
line's not gonna...
Hey! Oh, please don't ignore me. I'm just trying to help.
It would be helpful if I wasn't having two conversations happen at the same time. Jeez. Man, honey, once this cookbook's done, we're gonna be rolling in the dough.
Just like your cookbook, like pizza. I just like this kind of talk. You toss it up, you pick it up.
And you toss it some more. Ha ha ha.
Well, dear, I love the way you think.
I hope you don't mean that in an endearing way. Oh,
Be careful! That's how my cousin got a tattoo. The pencil got lodged into his hand and it left a mark. It was very, very traumatizing.
We'll be right back. We're right back. You see, back in the day before there was television, people would just watch people in the window. Let's check this one out. Why are you guys always laughing? I have a great plan for us to do. It'll be the biggest score ever.
And I've got the perfect escape plan for all of us so we can get away scot-free. None of these past hoity-toity plans.
You're like the Nutty Professor, soft and warm on the outside, but brilliant on the inside, honey.
Yous guys better listens, cause I'm gonna comb my hair to be all intimidating and stuff. This plan is off the heezy, and it's going to be all my plan.
Well, we kind of caught them in the middle of their evil plan, but just... where are you going? It's just getting good. All right, we could call the cops and watch what happens next. Maybe there's a shootout.
Hey guys, we're back. So one of the big things that happened during the city council meeting is that there was a major controversy in terms of the new owner of the Missoulian building. Recently, there was a big purchase from the Lee Enterprises to a group as well, and John Agan and a lot of people in the city of Missoula are been flooding and calling the city of Missoula, saying that we shouldn't let this company owner for saying anti-LGBTQ type rhetoric. And John Agan explains it's kind of out of his hands in terms of this, and this is what he had to say.
I can tell you that as that project moves forward, if there is public investment in any form, the city, I and staff, with the concurrence of council, would do our best to find a public benefit there. If that benefit doesn't exist, we likely wouldn't invest in that. But our ability to shape the project, to provide affordability, to affect design beyond what's on the books today in terms of zoning is limited. It is when we start to make an investment that we have an opportunity to negotiate. And if we have that opportunity, I promise you that we will do everything we can to consider broad public benefit in the project in exchange for our participation.
Okay, so basically the city recently rezoned the former Missoulian building site because the former Missoulian site, the rezoning was restricted to a journalistic paper business, newspaper business only, and then with the rezoning, they're opening the door for potential mixed commercial, residential, mostly commercial type unit type stuff. So you can expect one of those larger buildings. But sometimes nothing is the answer because the city can't oversee what a private organization is going to do. The city has no say in private business unless it violates state law. Matt Larson claims the realtor in this transaction did act in bad faith, and this is what he had to say.
We're involved with a realtor who has ethical infractions before, and may have acted in this transaction as the realtor. So yeah, we're going to talk to the realty organization of Missoula and of Montana and talk about ethical violations again with this same realtor. And we're just waiting for engineering firms and local real estate agents to come and have a statement of any kind disavowing the canyonization of the riverfront, and disavowing transphobic comments by developers, by construction companies, by everyone that we deal with on a local, daily, day-to-day basis.
Okay, and so let's see. Let's go back to my notes. Regardless of how you may swing things, like it or not, it's one of those things that are kind of out of the city's hands in terms of it. Nathan Stephen also chimed in at the anti-LGBT comments made by Aaron Wagner, the investor, who on social media kind of gave comments on Instagram, kind of talking about the citizens here in Missoula and making fun of people based on their sexuality. And so this is another comment by Stephen.
You know, it's really disheartening as someone who grew up here and has seen my brothers and sisters have to move away because of economic and housing issues, to have to deal with developers speaking about my community in this way. Anti-LGBT, misogynistic comments. I mean, this is outrageous what has been said about our community, and we're going to allow them to build here? I mean, my God, what are you allowing to happen in our city? This is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. And you have two people that are on the planning board that allowed this 125 feet monstrosity to happen that you're putting back up to be voted on tonight. Come on, put some new blood in there. This is wrong and you know it. Do something.
All right, and so that was the public comment, and kind of reiterating back to what John Engen was also saying is that they rezoned it, and then once the thing was finally purchased, all this started coming to light in after the fact, after the rezoning was officially done, and then the plans, they don't actually have initial plans on what they're going to be building there. They had a kind of a schematic and an idea of what could be there, but most of the time it's going to be kind of a mixed use with a commercial and some apartment kind of residential type use, kind of like what they have at the Rome Apartments down the way. I think that's honestly what may or may not happen, but you don't know until the plans start going into fruition, because this is just basically a selling. They just sold the property right now, and so they rezoned it so they could sell it to another company, and then they basically just finally sold it, and now the controversies come to light. So it's kind of like it does feel like a little too late at this particular time, and that's all I basically can kind of say about this. But also, one of the big things is that big change in the city regarding boards and such. So this is one of the big things that happened within the city as well, is that a lot of times if you want to serve on a board or committee or anything like that, you have to be within like the city limits, and now they're trying to adjustment and this ordinance established residency requirements for some department heads and supervisor manager was created in 2013. Higher local, but not many people can actually live within the city limits. So they had an expansion of about, they put in this clause saying that if you are able to get to the city in 45 minutes, they'll kind of overlook this whole travel kind of thing. It's not where somebody who's like living in another state can come here and be on a local board as well. So Angela Simonson, Human Resources, talks about this change a little more detail than I just did.
When looking at my request to repeal and replace this particular ordinance, I'm coming at it from a risk standpoint. There are 4 areas of risk that have been identified in keeping the ordinance as it is. The first is centers around recruitment. Recent director level candidates have expressed concern over this requirement. And we need to be able to reduce barriers for attracting and retaining top talent in this very tight market.
Okay, so basically lack of interest has created the necessary need for this creation of an expansion of the area as well. So working and living in town has become more and more difficult. The biggest thing is that housing stock is so low. A lot of it had to do with the fact that back in 2009, the housing crisis, and a lot of people were just like, oh, we're not investing in houses because people are not going to be able to buy houses as a result of the recession that we had. And so as a result, now we're dealing with the fact that there's a lot of people moving to the city of Missoula, and unless you have a big chunk of change saved up, which is kind of hard because the wages here in Missoula are stagnant as well. But regardless of that, we're not going to get into that. But there's a certain level of this is that they voted to approve this, just to expand a little bit more, just to provide it still within the Missoula County area, but this just would allow for more people to be on boards that are interested. All right, so final consideration. They're talking about some rezoning the Dearborn thing, and they kind of wrap this up pretty quickly. And so I didn't want to talk too much about it. The the marijuana, the recreational marijuana ordinance was on the table, and they're going to implement this on January 1st, 2022. And so this ordinance would provide buffers between areas. Sandra Fasica, City Council, brings up a couple motions to this ordinance, basically saying it's like, we don't need a buffer, but we want to, hopefully, we should try to provide people the ability to start a business from their home. And basically, this is what she had to say.
And a lot of folks that are not happy with this, with these new operations, with the marijuana growth industry, or with adult stores downtown, or even gun and ammo shops, or even butcher shops. A lot of folks don't want to look at that stuff. So I think that we should allow to have non-transparent glass in these businesses.
Okay, so I usually kind of avoided talking about this a little bit because I always thought it was kind of arbitrary, but this isn't necessarily just about marijuana, but the beautification of the downtown Missoula area. And you're walking downtown, and sometimes like there's certain levels of privacy, but at the same time, like one of the biggest things, especially in my lifetime in the city of Missoula, is that a lot of those shops, the sex shops, adult, fantasy, that kind of things, used to have more just like on display, not necessarily like super risque, but just like very kind of like censored pornography in a way when I was growing up as a kid, and it was like, whoa, what's that? And now it's becoming a little more restrictive, and maybe there's a couple of mannequins with lingerie on there, but other than that, it was one of the things that kind of like really kind of struck me, because there's something there, but it doesn't necessarily apply to this ordinance in regards to moving forward. And so Stacey Anderson does respond to some of the concerns as well.
First, so I think a lot of these privacy concerns, it is, we don't really talk about those in other, alcohol and purchasing of other quote unquote sin products, if you want to put them into that category. And if the owners are concerned about that, then we can address that inside. But I think that we have to take into account the overall effect it has in our community and how downtown is, we're trying to create an inviting atmosphere. And so I will not be in support of omitting this.
Okay, so basically, she was in support of basically talking about this further, because this would have been a longer meeting. A lot of the ordinance was set up by city staff, and a lot of it was fairly clear. They wanted to kind of tack on a couple provisions along with the state law. The state law already provided a 500-foot buffer between schools and places of worship, between dispensaries, and the city of Missoula was like, hey, we're just going to add the 500-foot buffer between businesses to kind of spread them out a little bit more. And then also, one of the big things apparently they needed to talk about was like the amount of frosted windows, and it had to do with the fact about how transparent the windows were, and just about like, hey, if you're going into these shops, they want to make sure that the people going in there have a certain level of privacy. And I think that was one of the things that were moving as well. But another big motion was to get rid of a buffer and let businesses come and go according to the market. But the city voted to keep that 500-foot buffer. They had no intention of removing a buffer, but capitalizing on the state law that has buffers in schools of worship. Let's see. Another big suggestion was, why can't people just do a business from their home? Which is also would go against state law, because it prohibited home growth solely for self-use and not for sale. So if you can grow plants in your house already, per the state law, I believe it's up to 6 marijuana plants. But also, if you caught with more than 2 ounces on your person, let's say you're just driving and you have some in your car, they find some in your car and it's more than 2 ounces, you can get as much as, I believe it's let's see here. If you're caught more than 2 ounces in your outside your private residency, you will face fines, and they really start serving you if you have any intention to sell. So if you have any intention to sell and you have more than 2 ounces of marijuana, per the state law, you're looking at $50,000 fine, and at least, and they say this, at least 1 year jail minimum time, and depending upon strikes. So just so you guys know, it's legalized, but it's also heavily regulated. So weed may be legal, my dudes, but you have to deal with stricter laws and deal with you if you are generous with your supply. All right, another big chunk to look into as well is the energy consumptions, which they never really addressed in this ordinance, because one of the things they wanted to bring up is like they wanted to have a certain amount of power and energy per square foot in regards to the grow operations. And the growing operations is it's not green at all. It's very consuming of energy. Hey, you're making an indoor greenhouse and you're making a major large building to grow these plants for production and dispensary and sale in these dispensaries. So one of the big things and the biggest concerns that I saw in a lot of these meetings was the energy consumption, and it's like more than double than one of the worst manufacturers. Like I believe that they had a grid, and one of them was like the longest. It was I believe it was 3 times longer than just a basic paper manufacturing place as well. So that's something that's going to be very interesting because it's going to be taking a lot of power as we're moving forward as well. All right. I do have committee. I don't have any committee meetings. They didn't really talk too much about it. Like I said earlier, is that they're coming off of the Thanksgiving weekend. They had a couple of appointments, a couple things like that. But admin and finance, the cost of businesses go up, and City of Missoula permitting fees will also add a 3% on top of permitting. One of this has to also do with the housing development and the groups within the staff of the City of Missoula. They want to be able to hire more people to work with a couple of these businesses and developers to expand their operations and also cut down time when it comes to the permitting processes. And a lot of times, a lot of the city staff actually represents the developer and give presentations to city staff during these meetings and more. So this 3% bump is not necessarily just about the city wanting to do this, but also businesses working with the city to help the process move a little bit forward. And it's a small price to pay for a faster progress. So the other committees were the parks and public safety and health and conservation, which appointed members, and public work goes over their manual. So they're updating their manual and they're talking a little bit about this. And if you want to know more information about the City of Missoula, you can go to ci.missoula.mt.us. And I'm kind of going to go with you guys about how you can find these meetings and more. All you got to do is go onto the City of Missoula's website. You go to this page. You can click on meetings. You see this thing that goes up right here. Boom, it literally says meetings. You click on the meetings tab. You scroll on down here. I suggest you go through the calendar view. There's a list view, but that kind of like puts it out there depending upon new agenda items. But if you look at the calendar view, you can actually look at the meetings that happened in the past. And as you can see here, this is an upcoming meeting. It looks like they already have an agenda up there. But with past meetings, you have the ability to click on them. I suggest you go to HTML because it brings up the agenda. And when you bring up the agenda, it also brings up a nice video page right here. And so when you click on any of these hyperlinks right here, it goes right to the point of the meeting as well. So you guys can educate yourselves as well about what's going on with the City of Missoula. It's very friendly as long as you have internet at home. Okay, I wanted to leave you with one thing as well, is that December 1st was a day without art, coinciding with the World Health Organization's second annual World AIDS Day, which was on December 1st, 1989, to promote awareness in the first case of HIV in North America. Through tragedies and stories of struggles, the arts reflected the pains of people who, according to the CDC and World Health Organization, 36 million people have died since the start of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. I wanted to leave you with that one because I thought in retrospect that it's hard to speak up in support of folks who have illnesses because they no longer have to worry about the trivial first world problems that we face daily. Illness doesn't care about your skin tone. It's just not the right time. Up next, we have an art clip from Missoula Art Museum featuring Jody Leitner. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some First Friday art guide stuff. Hey guys, we're back. Let's talk about all your First Friday stuff, and there's a lot of stuff going on as well. We're kicking things off with your First Friday events happening, and we're talking about Night Sky right here, and it's being featured at the Eagles and Volkers. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I've never actually heard it said out loud. Night Sky series. Please see the dreamy oil paintings created by Missoula artist Laura Blue. Her website, laurablueart.com, says she was born in southwestern Virginia, moved to Montana in 1994, and studied fine art at the University of Montana in Missoula for 2 years, completed formal art education in San Francisco Art Institute, earning a BFA in 1999. City life was exciting, but the affection towards Montana was too strong, and returned to Big Sky in the year 2000. So it's located downtown, the place. It's at 321 Higgins Avenue, Angles and Valkers. And this next one right here is Gallery Greats, and this is featured at the 709 Missoula, Montana Art and Framing. Give a gift of artists from Chris Audio, James Dew, Nancy Erickson, Rebecca Fisk, and there's so many artists in the city of Missoula. This is at the 709 Ronan Street. You can call them at 541-7100 for more information. You can go to montanaart.com for all exhibits and upcoming events as well. But this is kind of like their art guide to just like buying art for people for the holiday season as well. And also, I've noticed that also in the news, if you haven't noticed, I mean, it's kind of like a tidbit, but one of the things is that art sales have gone up during the holiday season. Holiday sale and exhibition opening reception at the Clay Studio of Missoula. That's the one. Featuring works by current and past Clay Studio residents, local and national artists. Our December sale is just the place to take care of your holiday shopping. Whether you're looking for a new mug for your morning coffee, a vase for a boutique of flowers, or sculptures to decorate your home, the Clay Studio will be offering a variety of exceptional ceramic art. Special extended holiday gallery hours make shopping at the Clay Studio easier way to find them. And so they're opening, it's going to be from 5 to 8 p.m. The sale will go on every day through December 23rd. Holiday hours are Monday through Friday from 12 to about 5 p.m. and then Saturday, Sunday from 12 to 3. Up next, we got the Artist Shop, Distilled Certainty. Monica Thompson is going to be featured at the Artist Shop, and there is a piece. This show includes a collection of hand-dyed raw silk collages, snapshots of still movements in time, imagined or abstracted from the Montana landscape. Monica is a textile artist interested in combining imagery with her love of pattern and color through pieced and stitched hand-dried fabrics. She is exhibited throughout Montana and the Northwest. She studied fibers at the University of Michigan and textiles at the Penland School of Crafts. Monica lives and works in the Missoula, Montana with her husband and children. She teaches elementary school art in the Missoula County Public School System. Up next, we got Missoula Environmental Art Silent Auction here in Montana. This is going to be featured at the Missoula Senior Center. The Missoula Environmental Art Expo will host a silent auction of local Montana artists' work to benefit Here Montana. Here Montana is a BIPOC outdoors group that runs through the City of Missoula Parks and Recreation Department. To find out more information, you can look them up at the city's website at ci.missoula.mt.us. Here Montana. All right, so up next we have a art from BIPOC. It is art being featured by Neil Ambrose Smith. And when I come back, we're going to talk about some events that are going on, because there's a lot of craft fair happening this weekend. I'm going to give you the ground floor on what's happening in terms of a lot of those crafts fair. All right, so those are a lot of the art pieces featured at the Missoula Art Museum. You guys can check that out anytime. All these art exhibits will be ending in March and February, so you have plenty of time to check it out. It's free admission, so the Missoula Art Museum is one of the few museums in the United States that's free, and they get a lot of their funding through basically subscriptions, and you can subscribe and you can be a member of the Missoula Art Museum as well by logging on to MissoulaArtMuseum.org. All right, let's talk about some events. Kicking things off, hey, I just want to talk about the Learning Center at the Lifelong Learning Center. This is the Adult Learning Center. It's at one of the school off of 3rd Street. It was part of MCPS's property. It's getting rented through the Lifelong Learning Center, and they do an introduction to Microsoft Word. So this isn't necessarily just about Microsoft Word, but you should, I mean, like this class is, but I just want to talk a little bit more about them. And then your night school, GED prep, GED training, all this stuff, night school, just to earn a couple new trades, skills, or just a couple classes to keep your mind sharp. I think the Lifelong Learning Center is a great opportunity for people to continue with education. Just kind of give a taste. Hey, if you're a non-traditional student and you're thinking about going back to college, I suggest Lifelong Learning Center is a cheap, viable way for people to kind of take a couple courses to kind of get back into the rhythm of things. And I think it is a good opportunity for people. So this morning they're already started, but right now, it is also a great way to learn some computer literacy, because there's so many times where I'm here at the library and I'm helping people, and it's mostly about just how getting their computer to work, and it's mostly because they don't have the patience to turn on the computer. So there's just a lot of that going on there, and I think a Lifelong Learning Center is a great place for people to learn how to use a computer. All right, moving on. Tiny Tales and Story Time at the Missoula Public Library. Like always, they have a story time for kids. This is usually for kids who are not going to school, not in preschool. They sit on their laps of their parents, enjoy some music, plays, readings, and some fun stuff as well. It is a good opportunity, and they post it online in case you miss it. Also noon, of the 4th floor of the library, you get to do some yarns, you get to make your stitch, crochet, do all this types of stuff, hang out with a bunch of people who do it as well. It's mostly just kind of like you sit around in a sewing circle, and just kind of hang out. And it's noon every Friday. And also they have watercolor as well at the library at noon as well if you want to do some painting with Rob P. Southgate Mall, kicking off for the next 6 weeks, they have an interactive job fair that will be a one-step shop for many jobs that many folks are looking to in terms of career. There is a fee associated with this, but this is a good way for you to market yourself and see what kind of jobs are out there to pay more. And I think this is a good way for people to find white-collar type jobs for them to expand into the future. And I think that's one of the things here in the city of Missoula, is that a lot of places are very service industry based, but I think at some point this is a good way for people to kind of really see about how the next step in their job career is. And this is going to be happening with the next 6 weeks. You can register online. You can find the link on the Missoula Events website, missoulaevents.net. Festival of Trees. Hey, it is the first Saturday of this. It's the first weekend in December, and all about the Festival of Lights, Festival of Trees, creating festival holiday experiences for all of the heart of downtown. This is a popular community event for the last 20 years and offers a variety of activities of all ages, including public displays and local design trees and holiday items, with a focus on community health and inclusivity. The 2021 Festival of Trees will continue the new format in a multi-space, multi-day tour of trees with opportunities to win one of the 10 designer-decorated trees this holiday season. The library will also be one of these locations to have these Festival of Trees as well. And also at the public library, you have the Young Adult Writers Group. It is a great way for people who want to improve their writing and who want to be future writers. And it's at 3:30 p.m. every Friday at the Missoula Public Library. And also we have a introduction to Photoshop here at MCAT. If you're interested in learning about Photoshop, you can bring in some of your own materials and stuff like that. But if you don't have anything, we'll have a couple things just to kind of rearrange and show you the basics, kind of give you an introduction into Photoshop. It is a great way for people to learn it. And also we have a editing class that we do every Friday as well, 3 and 4 p.m. It is a great opportunity for a lot of people. But just be aware that MCAT and the library is closed at 6 tonight. All right, base camp programs. Friday, this is a good way to drop off your kids if you don't want to bring your kids off to the first Friday events while you're art hopping. We're bringing our own brand of fun and activities for all ages. This is the old library building right next to the new library building, and this is at 301 East Main Street, and this is put on by the Missoula Parks and Recreation. And this is first Friday from 5 to 8 p.m., and I already told you about first Friday. All right, first night spotlight audition. So This is the kind of like the last audition for first night. This is exclusively for high school students in the Missoula area, and this is going to be hosted at Big Sky High School at 5 p.m. on Friday tonight, and is a good way for people to sing and show up their chops. And this is going to be the New Year's Eve event at the ZAC, and we're going to be live streaming and broadcasting this on our channel. And you can check that out. Believe it's going to be at 7:30 p.m. December 31st. And this is a good way, and it's a great. It's a $300 first prize, $200 second prize, and third prize is $100. And if you are a favorite of the People's Choice, they can vote online as well. It's $100, and come check out your local talent and future talent. And so that kind of, I wanted to wrap up that. That is the end of your Friday. Let's kick things off with a little bit of Saturday before I run out of time for my morning show. Winter Market, hey, if you're still interested in farmers market and that kind of community, Winter Market is always at the Southgate Mall, and they do it from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it's at the Mall West entrance. All right, let's talk about some craft fair. Hey, it's your crafts fair. A lot of crafts fair happening in the city of Missoula. It's a great way to find some gifts and trade and find some things that are actually made super locally. St. Francis Xavier Craft Fair at St. Francis Xavier Parish in their basement at 9 a.m. They're going to do it at St. Francis. It's a craft fair. There's not much more I can say about it. It's a variety of different gifts and stuff. Lolo PTSA Craft Show at Lolo School. They're also doing a craft show at the with great holiday finds. And then there's the First Night Book Fair. Fact and Fiction Bookstore is having their own downtown annual book fair on Saturday, December 4th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. A portion of the sales will be donated to the annual New Year's Eve celebration of the arts. So 2 buttons for $15. Normally, and then also First Night buttons will be available as well. If you're interested in going to First Night, it's usually about $10 in advance. These are buttons to get into all the shows, all the things that are happening around the city of Missoula as well. Condon Christmas Craft Fair, Swan Valley Community Hall. So if you're in the Swan Valley and you want to do a craft fair at 10 a.m., the festive community of independent local markets, creators, and do-it-yourself enthusiasts come out of the woods to share their holiday spirit and help you make your season merry and bright. Let's see. And when you're done with all that stuff, you can drop off your teenager at the Missoula Art Museum from 12 to 3 p.m. where they can do some art. Art is supplied. They also have snacks, something that we don't have here at MCAT. But MCAT has our regular Saturday drop-ins from 1 to 3. Kids do some Lego stop animation and more. So it's a fun event for kids to get their hands dirty with some media and hit the ground running with making movies and stuff. Santa is also going to be at the library at 1 p.m. So once you take pictures with the Santa, you can bring them on over to the Saturday MCAT, and also MCAT will be live streaming from the library starting at 1:30 p.m. on our channel and online. We'll also be broadcasting the Reverse Parade of Lights, which I'll talk about right now. So starting at 4 p.m. from about 4 to 8 p.m. The parade is going to be a reverse parade of lights. They're going to line up all the floats down Higgins Avenue, and people are welcome to walk and look at all the parade floats during the reverse parade of lights. MCAT will be also broadcasting a short from this parade. It's going to be on our channel at 6 p.m. and also we'll put it online as well on our Facebook and YouTube, hopefully to coincide with the event as well. But it's all a kind of a mixed of time, so there's no guarantee it's going to be at 6 p.m., but it will be online Saturday night. All right, so if you're interested in doing some comedy after all this is said and done, comedy night is going to be at the ZAC starting at 7 p.m. Buskathon is going to be at Westside Theater, 9-act variety show, so it's kind of like a best of shows. Usually it's like kind of holiday pops type concert. And speaking of holiday pops, the Missoula Symphony Orchestra is doing their holiday pops at the Denison Theater on Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. Sound Journey is going to be performing at Sacred Alley. Karaoke at Westside Lanes on Saturday at 9. And you got some DJ club stuff over at Badlander, 10 p.m. on Saturday. All right. Okay, so this is next event is on a Sunday, and this is kind of geared towards people, kids who are very hyperly sensitive, autism, spectrum, that kind of stuff, and just kids with general special needs and who want to see a calmer ho 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 from Santa. And so this is Sensitive Santa will be at the mall on Sunday. You can RSVP by going to the link at missoulaevents.net, and it starts at 9 a.m. Missoula Symphony Orchestra is continuing their Holiday Pops concert at 2 p.m. in the Denison Theater. So if you miss it on Saturday night, you can check it out Sunday afternoon. And Sunday, you always got to look for Sundays because they always have a lot of great performances from the university in terms of these kind of deals, and it's definitely worth checking out. Hanukkah on Ice. Glacier Ice Rink is hosting a Hanukkah on Ice at the Glacier Ice Rink while we light our giant ice sculptured menorah carved by Corey Gransbury of Absolute Zero Ice Design. Mayor John Angon will join us for the lighting ceremony. Enjoy free skating, festive music, jelly donuts, latkes, chocolate gelt, and great Hanukkah spirit. It's going to be Sunday starting at 4:45 p.m. Sunday, 4:45 p.m. All right, so that about does it for my morning show. I wanted to thank you guys for joining me, and for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp.